I don't know why more people aren't talking about this, but there are really two types of social media platforms. Platforms where you have the power and platforms where they have the power. Understanding this distinction and being able to take advantage of both types of platforms can help you expand your content and ultimately grow your reach. So let's dive in. If you're new here, I'm a fashion and beauty micro-influencer based in New York City, and I use this channel to help you create great content, grow your digital brand, and earn sustainable income from content creation. So if any of that interests you, please consider subscribing. The two different types of platforms that I alluded to are searchable platforms and algorithm-controlled platforms. Searchable platforms put you in charge and help you find things like questions you want answers to, things you want to learn more about, or anything you might be searching for when you have a clear topic or direction. Algorithm-controlled platforms are all about the discovery experience, and they'll serve you content that they think you'll like based on your behaviors on the app. Now that you understand this distinction, you may be wondering which platforms are controlled by algorithms and which platforms are searchable, and maybe most importantly, which platforms are best for you and your creator business. We're answering these questions right now. First, let's review the best known algorithm-controlled platforms, which are Instagram and TikTok. Instagram has been around since 2010 and is arguably one of the top social media platforms for content creators. In 2016, Instagram caused some drama by switching from a chronological feed to a feed controlled by what they called the algorithm. Instagram has now revealed that there are actually several different algorithms within the app, but honestly, that's a story for another video. And in 2020, Instagram launched Reels, a short-form video format designed to compete with, you guessed it, TikTok. Now let's dive a little deeper into TikTok's history. TikTok merged with a platform called Musical.ly in 2018, and by 2019, TikTok had reached 1 billion downloads globally. TikTok became known for its loose algorithm, which honestly gave more people visibility even if they had a small audience. So for example, even if you were a brand new account on TikTok, you could still make a video and get it seen by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. Whereas on Instagram, creators were struggling to reach even a small percentage of their own audience. Because of this, many content creators who had been plugging away and putting in the hours building a following on Instagram and who were getting frustrated by the lack of reach were swiftly moving over to TikTok, where it was an exciting time to take advantage of this algorithm, get their content out there, and hopefully accelerate their growth on a new platform. This led to a lot of creators building up communities of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, over on TikTok, which seems really great, but I want to come back to this idea about the value of followers on different platforms a little later on in this video. I think it's also worth pointing out that algorithm-controlled platforms also favor trendy content. So if you see one person create a video where they are lip-syncing to an audio or creating content based on a song that you keep hearing over and over again in your feed, TikTok and Instagram Reels are great places to take advantage of that trending content. This can be really fun for content creators because a lot of the trends on these platforms are funny, they're shareable, and they are just really entertaining to watch. However, only creating trendy content might not necessarily be a good idea for long-term success, and it could also lead to creator burnout. If you're less interested in creating trendy content, you might be interested in creating evergreen content, which is content that is always relevant, always being searched for, and something that can really stand the test of time. And that's a nice segue to talk about searchable platforms. When I talk about searchable platforms, I'm really talking about two platforms specifically. The first one, which is Google. And when I say Google, you might be thinking, that's not exactly a platform. And when I talk about the idea of searchable platforms in relation to content creators, what I'm really getting at is that when you have a blog or website and you are producing long-form searchable content on your own domain, that is able to be discovered in Google's algorithm because people are constantly using it to search for new things. I don't think that there has been a day in the last 5-10 years where I have not Googled something, and Google obviously has a huge percentage of the market share when it comes to searchable platforms. Google is the largest search engine in the world, and it also owns the second largest largest search engine in the world, and the second searchable platform that I want to talk about today, which is YouTube. Now, when we think about algorithm-controlled platforms and making money as a content creator, one of the top ways that you can monetize an algorithm-controlled platform like Instagram or TikTok is by doing brand partnerships and creating sponsored content. The way that you can monetize a searchable platform is a little bit different because yes, you can definitely have sponsored content on either your blog or website or on your YouTube channel, but one of the most appealing things about these searchable platforms to me is the potential for ad revenue. I'm sure we're all familiar with ads now, but whenever you see an ad on someone's YouTube video or you're scrolling a website, whether it's someone's blog or maybe even a big publication like Vogue or Harper's Bazaar, as you're scrolling through content, you're going to see ads embedded within that content. Now, advertising is really nothing new in the media world. In fact, you may have heard jokes back in the day about how Vogue's September issue, there would always be kind of the desire to increase the page count there and to kind of brag about this is the biggest issue ever, and then half of it would be advertising. And that's because no matter who you are or what you're creating, if you are creating content and you are creating content as your sole source of income, there needs to be some way to get compensated for the content that you're creating. And branded content also dates very far back in the magazine world. It used to be called advertorial content, where you would see content styled and in the voice of a certain magazine or publication, but it would actually secretly be an ad, or not secretly because legally they have to disclose that. And we can see the same thing reflected in sponsored posts that influencers create today. And in addition to that, we also now see ads everywhere. In fact, you may see them so often that you might even be immune to them at this point. However, advertising revenue is amazing for content creators because it really is a form of passive revenue, meaning that I don't have to do anything other than create the content that I'm already creating to reap the rewards of ad revenue. That's because through the YouTube Partner Program here on this platform, I am able to place ads before, during, and after my video content and get paid for the content that I'm already creating. And over on my blog, I am part of the She Media Collective, which is an ad network that I've joined where they are kind of the middleman between advertisers and my website. So when I go onto my website, I can see ads from companies like Sephora and Squarespace, and I didn't have to go individually reach out to those different companies to get them to advertise on my site. My ad network did it for me and placed the ads on their behalf. In 2022, ads made up about 8% of my total income as a content creator, meaning 8% of my revenue from last year came from me just going about my business and creating content as I usually would. I mentioned earlier that algorithm-controlled platforms are great for trendy content, and searchable platforms are really great for evergreen content. I think one of the best examples of this that I've actually referenced in a previous video is if you were to go to YouTube and type in how to mince an onion. The top results that appear for this search term are from years ago, and that's because the concept of how to mince an onion hasn't really changed, and it's something that people are still searching for even to this day. Because those creators got there first and racked up all of these views on their videos, they're still being recommended by YouTube and being ranked higher up in search because they're so popular, people actually watch all the way through that content, and because it's still relevant. Evergreen content ideas are really helpful to keep in your back pocket if you're having a day where you're feeling uninspired or you're wondering what to create. And if you'd like to receive 30 free evergreen content ideas, I actually have some for you inside of my guide, the Influencer Launchpad. If you haven't gotten a chance to check it out yet, the Influencer Launchpad is a free guide that I created for this community, all about getting your footing and getting started as a content creator. So whether you're trying to decide which platform to focus on, what your why is as an influencer, or you're looking to start to plan out an actual content schedule, this guide will help you with all of that and more. So you can grab that free guide from the link down below in the description box and get access to it, and be sure to check out the section with 30 evergreen content ideas. I should also mention that the distinctions I'm making here between searchable platforms and algorithm-controlled platforms are really meant to highlight the big distinctions of these different platforms at their core. Because of course you can search for things on TikTok or Instagram, and you can discover things in a sense from Google or YouTube. Google and YouTube do have elements of discovery to them. For example, on Google, sometimes you'll see that section at the bottom that says people also search for, or you could also try, where it gives suggestions of other other searches and potentially similar relevant topics to what you initially typed in. And YouTube has opened up a whole new can of worms with discovery with the launch of YouTube Shorts. Now, that traditionally long-form platform is also incorporating short-form video content because of the success of short-form video content on TikTok and then Instagram Reels. And more people are using TikTok and Instagram to search for things. I think probably TikTok more so than Instagram. I remember back in the day, I used to go on Instagram and search for like Instagrammable restaurants and coffee shops of places where I could go shoot content that I wouldn't have necessarily been able to find as easily with a Google search because Instagram was so visual first. And now the Gen Zers are really interested in searching for things on TikTok as well. And they are definitely turning to TikTok more and more for quick searches, quick fixes to their problems that they're having or questions they want answered, because it's a really short and easy, digestible way to consume that content versus going to Google and actually reading a more lengthy blog post about that topic. So all of these different platforms incorporate some elements of an algorithm and some elements of search capabilities, but I do think that making this distinction is important for you as a content creator when you think about it from a business perspective. From a user experience perspective, when you are turning to different apps for different reasons, it may not make sense to categorize them like this, but when it comes to the back end of your creator business, you know, your workflow, when you spend time creating content, how you create that content and how much of it you can create, it is helpful to separate them into these two categories to get a better sense of your workflow. I do also briefly want to touch on what I think is kind of the perfect hybrid platform, and that is Pinterest. Pinterest really is the best of both worlds because on the surface, it is a visual search engine and the third largest search engine in the world, but it also does incorporate an algorithm and it also shows suggestions, especially if you type in a search on Pinterest, it will sometimes populate other suggestions and keywords at the top of the screen. I think Pinterest is a great content sprinkler almost, where you can upload the same short form content that you've uploaded to TikTok or Instagram Reels as idea pins, which are Pinterest's kind of 9:16 vertical video format. Or you can also use a software like Canva to create little graphics to promote your content on searchable platforms like a blog or YouTube channel, and Pinterest can be a great traffic driver to your long form content. So Pinterest is really great for amplifying your existing content. I rarely create original content for Pinterest first, but it is a great place to really distribute that content out to a different audience and hopefully increase your views and subscribers on other platforms as well. I want to quickly touch on 3 things to consider when choosing which platforms to prioritize as a content creator, and the first is the return on your investment. I do think when you're thinking about your content schedule and where you're spending your time as a creator, it is important to consider the return on investment from what creating content on that platform gets you. And usually I mean this in a financial sense, whether you are directly making money from an on-platform incentive like Instagram Reels bonuses or the TikTok Creator Fund, or perhaps you're making money indirectly, meaning you're taking on brand partnerships or you are using a platform like Instagram perhaps to market your services, digital products, membership communities, or any other way that you make money as a creator. The second thing I think you should take into consideration when you're figuring out which platforms to prioritize is the value of a follower on that platform. I did mention this earlier in this video, and I'm really happy to take some time right now to address it because I think that it is important to take into account. Obviously, with a platform like TikTok, it's been easier for creators to build and grow an audience at a much faster pace than they've ever really been able to on other platforms. And that has definitely inspired change in other apps like Instagram and YouTube, where now it is a bit easier to grow, and especially through short form video content, you can amass a following very quickly. And when I say the value of a follower, I don't mean that one is necessarily better than another. What I really think it all comes down to is a question of watch time and retention. The question you need to figure out is how much time are people really spending with you? Because of the nature of the short form content on TikTok, where content is usually under 60 seconds and can sometimes go up to 3 minutes, you are just naturally spending less time with creators you you follow on TikTok versus a creator that you follow on YouTube. And this has certainly changed a little bit with the introduction of shorts and with TikTok rolling out longer content, but what really you need to think about here is how much time are your followers spending with you on different platforms. One of my favorite things about YouTube as a content creator is that people actually watch my videos. I'm really happy to see the retention and watch time on my videos continue to go up. And as you guys spend more time with me, you get to know me a lot better. You get to hear my opinion on different topics. You get a sense of my personality. And because of all of that, because of all the time that we spend together, it builds a stronger connection. There are creators who I love following on TikTok, but if you asked me what they thought about certain things, or, you know, things like, I don't know, their favorite food or whatever, things that like I know very deeply and intimately from lifestyle vloggers that I follow, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you as much about a TikTok content creator, and that's just due to the nature of how much time I spend with them compared to how much time I spend watching people who I love following here on YouTube. So this can definitely vary if the creators that you follow on TikTok are posting like 12 3-minute videos a day. That could certainly add up to the same amount of time that you spend watching someone's vlog on YouTube. But another way to think about it as a content creator is how brands might view your audiences as well. Even if you have 1 million followers on TikTok and 100,000 followers on YouTube, my guess is that you could get paid more for a YouTube sponsorship, again, because of the nature of how much time your audience is really spending with you on that platform versus TikTok, where someone might be spending 15 seconds a day with you, and that might be enough to make them follow you and be interested in your content. But when it comes to conversions and actually getting people to buy a brand's products or getting people to take action on what you say, I personally think that someone who can get someone to watch a 30-minute video of theirs on YouTube is going to have an easier time doing that than someone who watches a 60-second video of yours on TikTok. So again, it's not to say that the followers on either platform are valued at less, but you really do want to consider the time that your audience spends with you on each platform and be realistic about that when you're considering how much time you spend creating and what your return on investment is. And the third thing to consider when choosing a priority platform is how that impacts your creation process. So maybe you'll be prioritizing evergreen content because you generally see a higher return on investment, or maybe you will batch your content creation process to create more content more efficiently when you're already all set up and in the flow of content creation. And I think that the importance you place on those 3 things that I just listed does depend on what your goals are as a content creator, because if your goal as a content creator is to work with brands you love and incorporate them into the content you're already creating, then you might still prioritize TikTok more than a platform like YouTube. If your goal is to create less content and get rewarded for it time and time again, then prioritizing long-form searchable content on your blog or YouTube channel might be the best route for you. Overall, I recommend that choosing one searchable platform and one algorithm-controlled platform to focus on, and making sure that you can stay consistent on both of those platforms is the best thing you can do as a content creator to have a presence on each type of platform, stay consistent, and build up a great community on both. Remember, if you want to access 30 evergreen content ideas and take a quiz about which social media platform might be best for you, you can grab my free guide, The Influencer Launchpad, from the link down below in the description box. If you're interested in diving deeper into searchable platforms and you want to learn more about how I built up my community here on YouTube, check out the up next recommendation on the screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.